Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Everything is Fine, Nothing is Ruined podcast. I'm your host this week, Hassan. Joining me, as always, Tristan.
It's me. I am him. Tristan.
And, folks, this week we're doing something a little bit different. We're taking a look back to the past, going and looking back at one of the years people consider to be the greatest ever in gaming. That's right, folks.
What?
We're looking 20 years in the past, back to 2023.
What year do you think it is?
What do you mean? What year do I think it is? I know what year. Okay, sorry. I get it.
Yeah.
20 years into the past.
Yes.
Technically, because it's 2044, it's 21 years, but let's be real, the majority would only be 20 years ago, not 21 years ago.
Why do you think it's 2044?
Because it is 2044, Tristan. Did you hit your head recently?
I mean, not recently, no, but I do know that it's not 2044. I'm pretty sure. Yep. Pretty sure it's only 2024.
No, Tristan,
Ooh.
Have you just forgotten the last 20 years of your life?
Have you forgotten that it's not 2044?
No, it's definitely 2044, Tristan.
Prove it then. Who's the president?
Mark Sargent, after he proved that the Earth was actually flat.
That's wow. Shit. Okay. Well, that sucks.
You don't remember that?
No, I don't. No.
Oh.
What year did that happen, Hassan? Also 2044?
No. If we're talking what year did he become president, that was only a couple years ago, 2041.
Yeah.
However, when he proved the Earth was flat, it was in 2036, where we all thought we were going to die from global warming crisis and rising sea levels. Thank God the Earth is flat, because all the water just fell over the side. Saved us all. The upheaval, though, that was crazy.
Yeah, I bet. Considering the Earth is definitely spherical.
No, it's. I can understand where you're coming from. It was very difficult for the rest of us to swallow and understand. No, it turns out the flat earthers were right. There's a whole government conspiracy thing for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
Man, okay, that is definitely. That's something. All right. Well, I'll live in just wonderful bliss here in 2024, and you can live over there in 2044, where flat earthers are correct. I have at least 20 more years before I realize that's true, so that's good.
It's not how that. You're not in the past, buddy. You've just forgotten things for some reason. Anyways.
Oh, I'm in the past as far as I'm concerned.
We're here to talk about 2023 and some of the games that we didn't really get a chance to go over at the time.
Yeah.
This is your topic, so I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah. It is. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Games that didn't quite make the cut for our Finey Awards, essentially. We'll keep it to 3 to 5 kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Each. So, I think we all kind of do this thing. I think people who do award shows and, do, Games of the Year and that kind of stuff for podcasts and then YouTube and whatever, have this usual thing where, once December is done, it's oh, thank God, I can go back and play all the stuff that I missed, and I don't got to talk about it at all. Except I'll mention it here or there. I feel like we should mention it here or there, specifically here, because there were quite a few things that I went back to that were big in 2023 that I heard a lot about and heard that there were some really good things, and that everybody was this is a Game of the Year contender, this is a Game of the Year contender, all this stuff, and I was all right. So I went out and checked out some games that I thought were, palatable to me.
I see where this is going. So Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. Go on.
No, I haven't
okay.
played it, so
Yeah. You played it. What are you talking about? The hell's wrong with you? Anyway,
I played through it twice.
Yeah. I'm on. Yeah, exactly. That game gets deep, man. Especially on a second playthrough or third playthrough. Yeah. So Baldur's Gate, of course, that made my Finey Awards. That was my runner-up. And yeah, I went back and played some new things that came out in 2023 that I didn't really have much of a chance to really get to until like late December, early January. And man, I missed a few. I missed quite a few good things out there. I gotta say, and I can only assume that you probably found some stuff too that like hit that stride.
My list is actually mostly just stuff that either there just wasn't enough to warrant talking about, or
also good.
It just wasn't high up on my list of things. That it's still like, there's some things I want to say about it, but
yeah.
But let's hear what your first one is.
Well, one of these is definitely that. So my first one, where's my list at? You think we'd be better prepared whenever I do these episodes? You would think that, but you would be absolutely friggin' wrong, man. Where it is? There it is. There we go. All right. So first one on the list. I guess I'll just do the title card first, right off the bat, because it's also it's probably the least interesting one, I think, which is the Resident Evil 4 remake. Now, here's the thing. I love Resident Evil 4. That game is it stands the test of time. It is maintained its level of absolute like just presence as like one of the greatest games ever made, and it changed the way video games were made for like quite a while, and we're still seeing repercussions from Resident Evil 4 today. And the Resident Evil 4 remake basically takes an already great game and makes it even better in a lot of ways, and then it also in a lot of ways makes it a little worse. Okay. So here's the thing. What are some of the things that you know about Resident Evil 4? Have you played it at all?
Oh yeah, I've played that game.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite scenes of Resident Evil 4?
3 different consoles.
Yeah, I think I've played it on 3 or 4. I guess 4 now at this point for sure. It's my PC for the remake. So what are some of your favorite scenes in Resident Evil 4? Barring where are they all going? Is bingo, you know? What? Barring that scene, the scene when the bell rings in the village, and then he's like, "Where's everybody going? Bingo."
No, I was going to say almost anything with... I don't actually know the name of the guy. I'm just going to call him Little Lord Fauntleroy.
Little Lord Fauntleroy. You know, that's a better name, I think.
Yeah. Every
he's great.
Moment he's in, you're just like, this is so weird. This is so absurd.
Yeah. Do you remember the boss fight with him?
Yeah. It's not a very good one. Honestly.
It's not, but it's dumb. The giant mechanized versions.
Most of the boss fights in that game suck.
Yes and no.
Not suck, but they're not. It has the problem I think a lot of video games do with boss fights, which is just they go, hey, we just made this thing hit harder instead of, hey, we made interesting battle mechanics. Yeah. And that most of the time, here's this thing where we're just going to throw a bunch of like mini enemies at you. It tends to be far more interesting mechanically.
I usually agree.
Honestly, I'm thinking back, and I pretty well remember all of the story, and I don't know that any of it really matters to me. Honestly, like it is the characters that are fun. You know, what you buying?
What are you buying?
The vendor, he's great.
What are you selling?
it is, yeah, the like Little
for you,
Lord
stranger.
Fauntleroy guy. It's, just I don't know what they say, but just the way that the townspeople would shout at you, like, it's those little things that I remember.
Yes. I fully agree. So like there's a lot of really good stuff like that in the game, in the original version. For me, it's so Resident Evil 4 was also one of the predecessors of like the big action set piece kind of thing. And it made the game, like, it was a breakthrough for survival horror, because this wasn't a survival horror game, this was an action horror game. And it was like, oh, this has, like, a bit of a, like, almost Castlevania vibe of being more of a fun, but here's some monsters kind of thing. And I've always liked the fact that basically it's Commando if he was shooting weird bioweapons,
Yeah.
So like the one-liners, the big truck chase scene, the boss fight between Little Lord Fauntleroy, which I like. It's not a great boss fight, but it's memorable because he rides in a giant statue of himself. What a fantastic thing!
That part is really good.
The knife fight between you and not Sadler,
Krieger.
Krieger, yes.
That dude sucks though.
He sucks real hard.
Real edgelord.
Yeah, but like it's because it's all quick time events. It's like you gotta like laser focus on things.
Yeah, it's a cool moment.
Yeah. So most of that is gone in the remake. And they played the remake mostly seriously. Which is not. It's a very different tone from the original, and it's still a fantastic game, because here's the thing. They took the original gameplay and made it way better. Like this new game plays like a dream. This one, there's no ambiguity to it. It makes you feel like you're really able to take on these enemies all at the same time and do well. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff I can say about the Resident Evil 4 remake. Like the models look fantastic. The world is beautiful to look at. The guns handle well. The fighting is really good. The little addition of the extra mercenaries mode that they packed into it is also really good. I'm glad they put that back in there. It had to be done through DLC, but it was actually free DLC, so hats off there. So stuff like that, I think that's really good, and the unlockables are fun too. But it's really, besides the like where's everybody going bingo line at the very beginning, it loses that flavor right away. Like there are some things with what's his name, the Spanish scientist who works for Umbrella.
I do not remember.
Yeah, that guy. He I can't remember his name, but like he has some great lines. But when it comes to everything else, it's played more seriously than anything else. Like there's a great scene where you're doing like a rail cart, like mine cart, like almost some Donkey Kong Country level stuff in the remake, and they do that better. But like that's there, and then they remove some of the frustrating parts from the first game. Like there's like a good 2-hour chunk of you just kind of running around in the original one that they just cut out and streamlined that, which I thought was good. The regenerators, they like axed most of those encounters.
Were those for like the invisible dudes that you had to shoot the like specific spots on? Yeah, I mean, those fights kind of sucked. They
also changed them to be not invisible now, so like they're totally visible. But now the spots are a little harder to hit, and you definitely need that scope on a sniper rifle. And those fights are still there. They also make them a little less deadly, because like in the original one, like you get caught by one regenerator and it's like you're done for.
Yeah.
And like they used to be invisible. They aren't anymore. I think that's a better idea, because like they already have a lot going for them. They already regenerate. Why would you bother? And like anybody who's new playing like the Resident Evil 4 remake would be like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot this guy, whatever. But like, as somebody who's played these games a lot and played them before, I'm like, here comes the regenerator section. Dude, okay, run around them. Okay, whatever. You can't catch me. Whatever. Okay, Going here. Here's 2 more. Okay, whatever. It's all just that, and it's still just tedious bullshit about this game. One of the greatest games of all time has a bunch of tedious bullshit. And the remake still has some of that stuff because you can't quite get away from that side of things. Also, the quick time events are mostly gone in this game. They are kind of there with like quick button reactions of like, hey, press the duck button to dodge this out of the way of this attack kind of thing. But you still have full control over your character. There's no like you will die in a cutscene stuff, which is for the better. Like I like the original flavor, but like, yeah,
it's quick time events have fallen out of favor, right? So
they
that
have.
makes sense.
Yeah, I can appreciate them in an older game, but like nowadays, if you're making a brand new game and you still have quick time events, unless you're definitely doing kind of a throwback thing, leave them out of there. Nobody likes them. Yeah. So they're mostly gone here, which does unfortunately mean the Krieger's knife fight at the very end. Well, the Krieger knife fight at the middle, in the last one you do, they lack some of that punch because like the knife fight in the very beginning, like there's like doing the quick time events is really interesting there because like when you're trying to like fight him with your knife, you can mess up a little bit here or there and then it won't matter too much, but if you keep messing up, you will die. But it does make you kind of feel like you're on edge and really fighting this guy with the knife. Whereas in the remake, that knife fight at the beginning is like, yeah, here we go. I was cutting him, whatever cares. Oh, okay, God, this thing.
To me, Krieger deserves that. Edgelord Lamo.
They also make him a little better in this version, not by a lot, but he's still mostly an Edgelord Lamo. Not by a lot though. But then like the second fight where like he transforms, that one's whatever. And like the final boss with Salazar is also kind of whatever. Yeah, still a great game, but filled with too many weird changes and kind of a whatever I guess about some of the stuff in this game. But like the normal running around shooting guys and like kicking dudes off ladders and suplexing guys is still there. Like, yeah, Resident Evil 4 is still great, and the remake is mildly better in certain directions.
Okay. Well, the game I'm going to bring up and talk about is Detective Pikachu Returns.
Okay.
Which, I wouldn't call it a disappointment, but I would say it failed to exceed expectations.
Oh, that's too bad.
It just like met them what I expected, just based off how the previous one was.
Yeah.
And most of my issues are just around the writing is clearly targeting a younger audience, but I think it's doing them a disservice. It is that thing of it's like it's treating kids like it doesn't have faith that they would be able to because so for anybody who doesn't know, Detective Pikachu Returns is it's a Nancy Drew-like is what I'm gonna go with. I was gonna say Layton, but no, it's more like a Nancy Drew game.
Sure.
Where you're solving puzzles, you're running around talking to people to get information to then solve puzzles. But like when it comes to say, oh, you collect all your information, it's like, okay, figure out what to do. It's like there's only 3 options. In 95% of the puzzles, it is obvious which one to choose. And there's also no penalties for like choosing a wrong one. It's something where I just wish, and like the writing also just makes it super obvious in a lot of things of like who it's gonna be and like where this is going. I just wish that was all just a little more mature, a little bit better written.
I get you. Yeah.
What I do like about it though is that it's a Pokemon game that is not about battling at all. You're running around and you are interacting with these Pokemon and being just more friendly towards them. They're your pals in it. They're helping you solve mystery, or
it's a world where you have pals.
No, bad Tristan. But you're also getting to see a world where, like, one of the early puzzles is you come across this kid who he's wanting to practice football for, I think, an upcoming tournament or something.
Okay, yeah.
It's like, if only I had somebody to practice with. And then I'm going to look up the name.
Does he punt Pikachu or something? Because, like, that'd be pretty funny.
No,
he's got a football shape, really.
Okay.
You could...
No, because there's a football playing Pokemon, Raboot. And so you run across that, and you're like, hey, Raboot. Yeah, he's from literally the last generation, the Galactic Gen 8 Sword and Shield. But you run across him, and you're like, there's this kid who wants to play. You should go play with him. The Raboot's like, heck yeah, that'd be great. And it's fun to be in this world and get to see, yes, this is how people interact with Pokemon on a day-to-day basis and have them incorporate into their lives and stuff. And it's just...
Okay, sure.
The characters are kind of... like, Detective Pikachu is still pretty fun.
Did they finally voice him with Danny DeVito?
No. That was only ever for the movie that people made that joke, because the games he was already voiced. I will say the game ends. So it is super obvious in the first game, very early on, that Detective Pikachu is your dad's soul, mind, however you want to put it, stuck inside Pikachu. Because it is your dad's voice and mannerism. It is super obvious. And so it's always been clear that the end goal of this game is, your dad is going to get to go back into his body and not be stuck in Pikachu's. And spoilers, barely spoilers though, that happens in this game.
Yeah,
so I don't think there'll ever be another Detective Pikachu.
Hear me out. What if during this part where his soul leaves Pikachu and goes back into his body or whatever, what if the very second that's gonna happen is a huge fake out in this case, and like a fucking like portal to hell just opens up and just drags him down to hell? What if? That'd be fun for the kids.
I don't think there's any version of hell in Pokemon.
I'm sure there is. There's gotta be.
I can't think of that ever being referenced or anything.
Utopia in Pokemon Land. Okay, fine.
Oh, no. Let me be clear. Pokemon, not a utopia. A lot of horrific nightmare stuff. I just don't know if there's a hell.
Oh, okay. Well, there should be one. Concern it.
There's definitely afterlife stuff implied, so yeah. I mean, ghost type Pokemon, so
yeah, true.
But the game, it's fine. There's really not that much to talk about with it. I enjoyed my time with it. I'm glad they did something like this, and honestly, I hope that they take that they do something along these lines again, where they go, hey, it's a Pokemon game, but it's not about battling. It is, about stuff like puzzle solving.
Yeah.
I just hope that they're just a little more, I don't want to say mature, but again, they don't do that thing of, well, this is for kids, so we need to make it super simple for them. That they add a little complexity. But that's all I have to say about that. What's your next game?
So, my next game is going to be a little one that made the indie circles, and it was designed for people who, like me, who really enjoyed both Slay the Spire and Into the Breach / FTL. You know FTL?
Yeah. I'm trying to think what game this is going to be.
All right, so there's one that came out October-ish of 2023.
Oh, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Okay, yeah.
No, I didn't actually get to play that because I don't have PS5, so...
It's also not an indie game. That was a joke.
That's true, too. Unless... No, it's not an indie game.
It's definitely not. It's a Marvel game coming from Sony.
Yeah. Made by Insomniac. So the game is called Cobalt Core. And essentially what it is a game where you are... It's a deck-building card game. You have 3 different characters, and they control a spaceship. And you can mix and match your characters, and each one gives you different kinds of cards you can start selecting during your runs. And you're on set paths and like little trees. You can kind of go into like event paths or fights or like repair your ship, that kind of stuff. It's a typical roguelike card battler. Where it gets crazy though is that it does feel like a bit like FTL, but mostly like Into the Breach, because you're also shifting around things in the environment, because you can like play cards to give yourself like maneuverability. And so what you're trying to do is dodge lasers a lot and get out of the way and get into like little boxes where your ship is just good enough, and maybe like an asteroid will like take the hit, or like your one of your drones will take the hit for you, that kind of stuff, and avoid getting pummeled. It is a lot of fun. It's really good. It plays like Slay the Spire. If people love Slay the Spire, I recommend this. However, it's a bit of a head scratcher, because like in some of these games, like in Into the Breach, they do this thing where like, hey, I kind of messed up this turn. I'm just gonna roll this one back a little bit, and then don't worry about it. There's none of that in this game. If you don't see the 3D chess thing that's happening in front of you, I'm like, oh, I play this and then this, then move here, and then do this and launch this drone this way, and then go over here, here, and here. Then I shoot this part of the like if you don't see that stuff when you're playing your cards, too bad. You're not gonna get a chance to do that. You can just like, I played this card. Oh no! Thing is shot 20 times. What?
There's a pretty clear elephant in the room that it feels like you haven't brought up.
What?
Surely you have realized...
I don't know what you're talking about.
The visuals of this.
Yeah.
What it evokes.
Like cute furry shit, yes.
Tristan, these look like Sonic personas.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, yeah. Like, whatever.
Yeah, what, you're just going to try and trick people to play this game without warning them? They might...
I'm not trying to trick anybody.
Turn them into writing their own Sonic OCs.
If you want to do that, go for it. I don't give a crap. This game's cool.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying you need to put a warning on that.
Oh, okay, fair enough, yeah.
Warning. Might turn you into a Sonic freak.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. Warning people. This might turn you into a weirdo who loves Sonic the Hedgehog, which is just a normal thing to like, for the most part.
Warning,
but you might like them too much, is what I'm trying to say.
You might know who Cream the Rabbit is after playing this game.
Everybody knows who Cream the Rabbit is. Go for a deeper dive, Hassan, come on.
You might know that there's both Chows and Chaos in the Sonic universe, and they're spelled the same way, but they are very different things.
Yeah, there you go. That's a deeper dive. I knew you could do it. Yeah, okay, fine. It does sort of invoke
sort of, yeah.
It's sort of. It's not that deep. It's not that close to Sonic the Hedgehog. Trust me. Like, that's the thing. I've seen enough Sonic the Hedgehog stuff to know that like this is close.
I don't doubt you.
Yeah, I'm not a big Sonic the Hedgehog kind of guy, but like, and like, for me, this hits more of a note of like Bucky O'Hare.
That is one rung. That is half a step up on the ladder. Let's be clear.
That was a step down, but
quality wise, yes.
Yeah.
Furry wise, no.
Oh, that's fair. Well, the princess and Bucky hair is much.
But you gotta take it as a whole. I think as a whole, not as furry.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Anyways, any last things you want? I forget the name of the game. What was it?
Cobalt Core.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So barring the Sonic the Hedgehog influence, the art style for the characters, it's a lot of fun. It's like I said, it's a cool little, like, you gotta like really see what and plan out what you're doing with your cards, and because you unfortunately just luck of the draw, you don't draw the right cards, you do kind of sometimes get screwed if you haven't set things up in the right way beforehand. But I find this game is pretty forgiving, and like the runs are a lot of fun. They're a little on the long side for anybody who plays Slay the Spire. Like Slay the Spire, you can get like a run of Slay the Spire in like 20 to 30 minutes. This one's more like an hour is going to be dedicated to the run, if you're on a good roll anyway.
That's not that bad though.
It really
isn't.
To, like,
yeah. Some other games like Dead Cells or
Dead Cells you can go quick.
Rogue Legacy, like
Rogue Legacy
those
now,
games.
Yeah.
They're not quite as complete a run based game.
Yeah. But... That's true. Like they are, but they aren't. But like Dead Cells, you can, if you move fast, you can definitely get through a run in like half an hour, if less. But like, yeah, stuff like Rogue Legacy takes a long time. There's a lot more other roguelikes that are more like this style that, didn't really, like, they take way too long. Griftlands is the one I'm thinking of specifically. That's from Clay. Like that game, because it's narrative based, that one takes a hell of a lot longer than any roguelike has the right to be. But Cobalt Core kind of hits like a nice middle ground of being like an hour long when you're getting on a good roll. And I think that's a good way to make the game. The other cool thing with this game is that, like, as you're playing cards and as things happen, like, your characters do talk back and forth at each other and like call each other out for like bad shots or like doing a dumb thing or whatever. And also, like, in typical roguelike fashion, there's a time loop sort of thing happening, and the way you complete the game is by getting unlocking 3 memories for each character as you go, and that gives you, the ending of this, or you got this character's now complete memory here, and you also unlock other ships and different cards, and yeah, it's got that robustness. I think it's a cool game, and go play it if you like Slay the Spire.
All right, well, next game I'm going to talk about is not a game that came out in 2023, but because games are different than most other media, the idea of attaching specific years to games doesn't make sense. It's stupid. I do agree with that. Let go a lot of the concept around, oh no, you can only have your game of the year and stuff be something that came out that year, blah, blah, blah. Genshin Impact. And the reason I want to talk about it is they went... So their version numbers basically just correspond with each new region they add. And so last year, they added a region called Fontaine, which is this water-based region based off of France. But the thing that makes it really good is that it's probably the best main part of the storyline they've ever had. The actual gameplay mechanics that they added, the new enemies, all that stuff's really good, really fun. I will say one of the problems that this game has is that some of the side quests have gotten a little bit long, way too wordy and convoluted. There are ones literally could not tell you. Probably spent 6 to 7 hours playing these side quests. If you asked me why I was doing what I was doing for them, I'd be like, I don't care about these. But the main quest part of it that is good is that, so this Fontaine region, there's this curse that the water is rising and it's going to basically end up killing all the people. There's a bunch of other stuff. I'm trying to condense this down as much as I can. And so the Archon, which is basically the god of this realm, who is supposed to have control over water. She's this very haughty, arrogant, like, yeah, of course I know how to solve this. I'm working on a plot, you see, to fix all of this. Don't doubt me. I'm the Archon, after all. Oh, very French aristocrat. They're playing on that. And community hates her. They're like, oh man, screw her. She sucks. She's the worst.
It's because she's too much of a soon for the dairy. So there you go.
No, I wouldn't call her tsundere. I literally would just call her very haughty, or like, she's never wrong. If you find something and she says something wrong, she's just like, very good. You figured out that I was testing you by purposefully saying the incorrect thing there.
Yeah, lady.
You the astute one. And so what ends up happening is, as the water level keeps rising, you and some cohorts, you basically end up trying to get the Archon Fiorina to kind of confess what is happening. Why can't you stop this? And she's about to tell you about this, and then she's like, no, I can't. I can't do this. And that's when it gets revealed that
lady.
That's when it gets revealed that you have actually tricked her into showing up to court, because Fontaine is a land of justice.
Oh, and so I heard the one of the characters you get in this area, who's like a fire mage lawyer thing.
Water mage, Nouvelette. Okay. So he is like the chief judge, and he literally puts her on trial.
Fun.
And she's on trial basically in front of the entire country, and basically they're like, we don't actually think you're the god. We think you're full of it. You're faking it. And it's just her like having an actually really emotional moment where she's just breaking down like, please, somebody, you just have to believe I am the god. You have to believe me. I know I haven't done this. And that's when all of a sudden the water level just goes crazy, starts to rise. And then it's a little bit unclear, but basically kind of everything pauses. And what gets revealed is that, yes, she sort of is the water god. What basically happened was hundreds of years ago, Focalors, who was the Archon, split herself into two. So she created her physical body, and then she took her like her soul, her magic power, her knowledge, all of this, and split it off and hid it. And that part had been working for hundreds of years on a way to stop this water from rising.
Right.
And the human part of her has no memories of it. All that happened is one day she just sees herself, and she's like, you have to play the role of a god, even though you are not one.
Well, that's dumb. I don't want to do that.
So then what you get is you see these like hundreds of years from Fiorina's point of view as it is just mentally crushing her and destroying her, as she is, having these sort of like elite aristocratic families come in and fawn over her, and then generations later somebody going, yes, my grandmother always talked about the fine meals she would have with you, and she's just having to put on a smile, and then the people leave, and she's just being like, don't cry, just hold it on, you can handle this.
Nah, just burst of crying, it's fine.
And people just coming to her and telling her about how the water level is rising, and she's been like sending people off to do research and try and conduct tests and experiments to stop it, and they're coming back like, Lady Fiorina, this test failed. She's just having to go, yes, as I expected it would. Very good. Important data I learned. And just going like, damn it, come on. I just have to find a way and stop this. And it is just rushing as you are just seeing all of this happen, and you realize like, oh, you were the jerk for trying to force her to confess this. And the kind of part of what made this work is that because this is a live service game, this took months for the story to be doled out. Probably like, I don't know, 4 to 6 months, something like that, maybe longer, for it to go from, you first meet her, you experience this, to getting to see just this 180 on her, where I don't know if she's the community's number one favorite character, but top 3 very easily.
Okay.
But the absolute cherry on top of the cake is that all of the characters will have entries of, hey, this is what this character thinks about another character. And it's not every character has something about every other character, but sort of every character will have entries for, 6 to 10 other characters. All of the other Archons have entries, and all their entries are just like, I don't understand how her mortal brain handled this. She should have just become her brain should have just literally shattered hundreds of years ago, and she should just be a puddle on the floor.
Cool.
This is the most impressive thing I have ever seen.
Cool.
And just her character story and arc in general, just I'm not going to say it's the best writing games ever, but because it's a live service game and they were able to stretch it out like this, almost like a TV show in a way, it made it work. It made it impactful, and it really hit home with her.
Cool.
I just think, live service games and just ongoing games in general, we need to start talking about them when it comes to a lot of, I don't necessarily think like game of the year in that sense, because it's almost impossible to judge those,
I think
equally, because how do you, like, I can't sit here and tell you what the best ongoing game of the year is, because the only one I could point to is Genshin, because I'm not tuned in enough to go, is it Destiny 2? Is it Fortnite? Is it PUBG? Is it Warframe? Is it Call of Duty Warzone?
Warzone,
is it League of Legends? All these things. I don't know. And honestly, nobody can really know, because no one can be that into all those games, as opposed to some of these other ones we're talking about. You play them for 8 to 40 hours. You got more than enough of it to judge that against other 8 to 40 hour games.
I think the problem is that, like, so I think the issue with live service games is that you named a lot of the ones that like actually do have staying power and did live service a good service, and we're like, hey, these games are good live service games. Some of them may have some cash grabby stuff to them, whatever. That doesn't matter. I think the term live service has been really downgraded because of the companies that try to get into live service games and do it in a very money grubby, like really cash grabby way.
Yeah.
And that's really problematic, because like even I know, like, I make fun of Genshin Impact. It's a waifu game, whatever, who cares? But like, I know it's a well-made game. I know that they've done things to make the game interesting and better than most of these other live service games that come to the forefront. And I'm like, we have a model to base this off of, like Genshin Impacts. Your, like, even Call of Duty Warzone kind of has that, like, is doing pretty well. But then, like, you have like Apex Legends and League of Legends and Dota, and you have all these other like live service games that like are actually well made and aren't there to just be a cash grab. Of course, they want you to spend money on them. If they're video games, they're a product. They want you to buy things, but like they're not as egregious and bad as things that come out from like Square Enix or like EA or Ubisoft or stuff like that, who do just want you to keep buying things. Like, it's a live service game, and they just shared.
Diablo 4 had some of that.
Diablo 4, yeah,
they fixed that, but yeah, it's just, I think it's very hard to have those conversations.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you have to be.
You have to know that, like,
you, Tristan Crane, could not just pick up, PUBG today, play it for 8 hours, and go, well, does this deserve consideration as one of
it's still
the
going
best
on.
Games of this year?
Yeah.
But what I mean is, how do you have that conversation?
It's hard. You're right.
Without having played it for the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, I think
because you can't say,
yeah,
hey, relative to last year, is this version of Apex Legends in 2024
is it better than the one
a
in
step up
2019?
above the previous to make it, so that it deserves to kind of be in that conversation. It could be amongst your favorite games of the year, but is it one of the best of the year? If it's just the same thing as last year, then no, right? It's the same thing. They haven't added enough new to warrant it. And so
I think we turned to a couple of
why they aren't there, but I wish there were more conversations around that.
I think we need to turn to a couple of other options here because, like, for instance, Brad Shoemaker, when he was still in Giant Bomb, he did put Dota on his like Game of the Year.
Yeah,
list,
when it went
like,
1.0.
Yeah, like 3 times, something like that.
Oh, could have.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I don't think so either.
The game is adding new elements to it, so that you're not just saying, "Oh, And again, there's nothing wrong if it's one of your favorites of the year. An ongoing thing can be your favorite.
Exactly.
But when you say best, it at least has to have something that warrants it as, okay, but compared to previous years, what now makes it the best in this year, right?
Yeah, the problem comes into who made these rules. The other thing you also need to look at is in 2023, one of the best games of the year that was considered across the board was DLC for Cyberpunk 2077, which is the Phantom
Which
Liberty
I think
DLC.
is fair.
Yeah, I think so too. If you can do that, why could you not say a live service game who has updated the game to a point where it's amazing could not be the game of the year?
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but we should move on. So what's your live service game that you want to talk about now?
I don't play any of that crap.
Podcast's over. No, what's your next game?
I used to, but I don't do anymore. So, my next game. Hassan, how much do you love Max Payne? Or at least the concept of Max Payne.
Honestly, not that much. Like, I liked it back in the day. I think those games hold up poorly, is what I would. Except Max Payne 3, that game's incredible. But Max Payne 1 and 2, I'm kind of
I think Max Payne 2 is the better one out of all three of them. Max Payne 3 is more.
It just doesn't hold up great.
That's fair. Max Payne 3, I don't think Rockstar really did it. I don't think they made a good Max Payne personally. I think it's a good game. I just don't think it's a Max Payne game.
I like the Max. I'm with you. I just love Max Payne stuck in this
dirtbag mode,
almost wacky situation. Yeah.
Well, if you like that, then you might like El Paso Elsewhere, which is my third game I want to talk about. Have you heard of El Paso Elsewhere? I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yes, I'm trying to remember it though.
Okay. So, this harkens back a lot more towards the first two Max Payne games, because this is a bullet time, air dodging, jumping in the air, ripping through with shotgun rounds, grabbing a Tommy gun, blowing dudes away, kind of a game. As you have inner monologues about really deep, fucked up topics. El Paso Elsewhere managed to make a Max Payne game in 2023 and put a fresh spin on it. Because here's the thing. First off, you're playing essentially a kind of like Indiana Jones guy, but for cryptids. So he's kind of a monster hunter. Okay. And also teaches classes on...
Monster Hunter is very different, Tristan.
Yeah, whatever.
You kill the monster, you make armor and weapons out of them. Everyone's hot for the handlers or the twins in Rise.
Not to self-look that up. Anyway. So what this is basically, he's a bit of a monster hunter, but he also teaches classes on cryptids at a university. And the story is this. You are going to a motel in El Paso, Texas. You have, admittedly, two things on you. You're a pistol, well, two pistols actually, and a giant case full of drugs that you have just taken every single pill of that. You are drugged out of your mind, going into a motel in El Paso, and you're going to kill a bunch of vampires and shit.
Sounds like my regular weekends.
Yeah. I know, Hassan, that you love this character. The character who's kind of like just dirtbag, down on his luck, hard feeling, drinks himself into a coma, this kind of stuff. This is the guy. This is basically if Max Payne also kind of met Skinamarink because of the shit that happens. Because eventually, your main goal in every level is to rescue hostages and then get to the elevator to go down to the next level. Because this motel is a thing that has separated itself from time and space. So at a certain point, you're going to like different like a graveyard or like a castle, or it becomes a motel who shifts into a hospital, and then eventually a meatpacking plant and all this crazy stuff. It's a really wild game. They get a lot out of reusing a lot of the assets, and I appreciate what they've done. It's a very artistic take on what they've done and what this game could be. And all the while you are having these crazy inner monologues about what it means to be doing what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. And the fact is that, like, so this game is actually about abusive relationships. And it's really, there's some stuff in this game that, like, when your dude starts talking about it, you go like, oh my, oh, ah, ooh. it's very real at very certain points, and like it's your ex-wife who is a vampire, who is doing this. She has separated this piece of El Paso out of time and space in order to eventually destroy the world.
Got it. Reverse Twilight.
Yeah, in a way. If also like Bella was trying to kill Edward.
Is your kid also named Nessarina?
They don't have a kid, so
yeah.
So luckily the dude that you play as split off from the vampire who was abusing him early on enough, but it's still like, and I like every time he talks about it, it's like, and I still want to go back to her right now, but I got a job to do. And that's kill my ex-wife. Yeah, it's a wild take. And like the one of the beautiful things of this game is that like it goes back to that style of game where like, hey, you want a solid 8 to 10 hour experience? There you go. El Paso Elsewhere. You don't gotta worry about it beyond that. You can replay the missions if you want to and get some of the collectibles, but like whatever. Yeah, the Skinamarink stuff that I mentioned that comes in because at a certain point, mild spoiler for this game, the elevator is actually sentient and wants you to get inside of it, and then eventually starts holding you hostage for like what apparently to you is like years. Yeah.
Elevator, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a great game.
Also, I need to apologize to the Twilight fans. Nessarina is not the daughter's name.
No.
That's somehow better than the actual one, which is Renesmee.
Renesmee, there you go.
God. All right. Well, I just have two quick ones to end mine off with. So,
sure.
How many do you have? Two more? One more?
I have two quick ones I want to just briefly mention.
So I'll do my first one then. So first one, Oxenfree 2.
Yeah.
For anybody who knows or has played the first Oxenfree.
Saw that came out. Did not know it was going to come out.
Oxenfree 2 is just more Oxenfree. I mean that in a good way. But also, they really have not changed much in that game. It is the same sort of point-and-click adventure, although it's really not that. It's more of you're just walking along, choosing some audio options, occasionally interacting with very simple puzzles, but fantastic dialogue writing.
Sure.
Still gorgeous visuals.
Yeah, the first Oxenfree is really beautiful.
The atmosphere of it, fantastic. And I don't know why it is, but sometimes certain pieces of media will just click with me where I don't want to say it feels believable, but it's something that
it immerses
you. It makes me feel like I want it to be believable, I guess I would put it. 'Cause I'm somebody,
I see what you're saying.
Don't believe in ghosts, don't believe in cryptids, don't believe in an afterlife, any of that. I'm a very man of science, I guess you would call it.
Science!
But sometimes something like Oxenfree just clicks with me, and it just it gets inside my brain where I just go, man, this feels like it could be real though. And God, if if a triangle ever opened up in the sky, I would just die. I would just die. That's it. Couldn't handle it. Just
heart attack instantly. Just drops dead.
Yeah. Could not. Just my brain be like, oh God, oh no, all the horror stuff is real. I'm doomed. That's it. I'm dead.
Yeah,
I'm out. Can't live in this world anymore. But I highly recommend the game. It's really good. But honestly, not too much to say about it because it is just more Oxenfree, and unless
that's the vibe I got from
sit
it,
here and just spoil the story, there's just not much to talk about because it's like, you just click a button to go here. Hey, it's still neat the way that if you just interrupt a character, or if you just don't respond to them, that the dialogue feels very natural. Like, okay, I guess you weren't interested in that topic. Anyways, moving on.
Moving on, guys. Fine.
Sure.
I do like that from the original Oxenfree. Is that the last one before you go to your final one?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So you go ahead and do yours.
Yeah. All right. 2 quick ones. Oh
no, we can do it alternatingly. So just do one.
Sure. Yeah. So back in March, Baldur's Gate was coming up, that kind of stuff. I knew Baldur's Gate 3 was going to come up, and kind of like I was going to play that. To scratch that itch, though, I picked up War Tales. Not quite what you'd want from a Baldur's Gate. It's a pretty cool tactical RPG. It's
that.
It scratches some of those itches.
I'm thinking of a different game. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
It basically you're a traveling band of mercenaries during a plague in a fantasy world, but there's it's very low magic and I kind of like what they're selling there. It's a very indie style TRPG, so not a lot of high production values, but it feels scrappy and good in that way. Combat is crunchy as hell. It has a bit of almost has kind of a feel of Darkest Dungeon in the combat, because if you miss a shot, it has what, oh God, kind of thing. Am I gonna die? Kind of, yeah. It's got those vibes. So yeah.
Yeah, I considered picking it up, but when I saw the combat of it, you were talking about it, that Darkest Dungeon, well, if you miss a shot, it's ugh.
Sometimes they miss too, though. So.
And Fire Emblem's kind of like that, but I feel like the difference is Fire Emblem still feels like there's more mechanics happening.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
To me, in my tactics games, I need that when it's that very simple tactics. It doesn't scratch that itch for me. I kind of
Fire Emblem's more like war game. This is more skirmish.
Yeah. And for me, I don't dislike that, but I get bored of it after about 6 hours. I'm like, I need more mechanics here. I need to be sitting here going, okay, if I do this, I need to have there's 20 different things that can happen here. Not, well, there's 3 that can happen, and
yeah, it's basically the service. There's a lot more depth to it than that, but it's not as deep as a war game proper. So yeah.
Anything else you want to say on that?
Nope. That's it for War Tales.
All right. Well, so my final game is one I didn't even play. It's Mortal Kombat 1. Tristan, I don't like fighting games. I never have.
I know you don't.
I've never enjoyed the down, forward, back, circle, whatever stuff.
Why are you talking about Mortal Kombat?
Because I love the dumb world of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And the characters.
Yeah.
And ever since Mortal Kombat 9, the story's been fantastic, and I love watching that story. Mortal Kombat 1 is, I think, the best story that they've ever had. It's definitely the best character writing. There's some actual...
Yeah.
Heartfelt's maybe a little bit strong, but what they do in particular with Johnny Cage and him going from just Hollywood self-absorbed jerk to somebody who actually understands the seriousness of the situation. And him and Kenshi, I believe is the character's name, the blind guy with the sword. They have this really great relationship. The character designs are fantastic. I love what they did in particular with, and it's arguably from the last game, but it's most prominent here. But what they have done with, oh my god, I'm blanking on his name now. He is now Fire Lord.
Scorpion?
What? No. He's the main Bandetta. What?
Oh, Liu Kang.
Liu Kang, yes. Yeah. Fire Lord Liu Kang now. He's good.
Right. From Mortal Kombat 11. Sorry, yes.
Yeah. What they did with Raiden 2, I like his look a lot more.
Yeah, that's fair. Looks better.
The way that game ends, though, I won't spoil it. It is so, like, I guess minor spoiler, although not, because again, 11 had it.
Yeah.
They do a multiverse thing at the very end of 1 as well, but it is so aware of how stupid multiverse stuff is.
Okay, go on.
Big comic book fighty stuff, and it goes all in on that in an incredible way. I highly recommend to anybody, even if you're like me and you don't like fighting games, you should watch the story moments of Mortal Kombat, because, the honest thing is, you don't need the gameplay part of it to you don't miss anything or lose anything by not experiencing the gameplay moments of it, because it is a fighting game. So unlike say other games,
no, that is actually fair.
Yeah, where like the actual gameplay element ties into the story as well.
Yeah,
this is story, fight, story, fight. Like it doesn't flow into each, or it's not what you do in the combat doesn't impact the story in any way. There's a very hard line drawn of this is story moment, this is combat moment. They're not part of each other that way. So I really like watching the Mortal Kombat story stuff, and the MK1 is fantastic, gorgeous looking game too.
Yeah, I mean, just before anybody, in case anybody wants to jump to your throat, I'm not playing this game. You're right. As somebody who does play fighting games, there's been a thing for a long time, especially in anime fighters like your Guilty Gears and Blaze Blue, Melty Bloods, etc. All this stuff. The story mode is usually actually separate and usually these days has almost no fighting in it. So you're reading a light novel for like 4 hours straight. That's the story mode.
Yeah.
And then everything else is separate. Just an FYI.
All right. Well, what's your final game?
So the final one. So here's the thing. This game was kind of. This is kind of the year for throwbacks for me, because like I wanted to play some older feeling stuff with new, fresh ideas. Hence Resident Evil 4 Remake, El Paso Elsewhere. I guess Cobalt Core is kind of that too. This year, I've never played this style of game. Even though I'm a big From Software fan, I've never played their original like Kingsfield style games for the most part. I think I've dabbled in maybe one of them as a kid. I can't remember totally if that was the case though, because I was, I'd be like what, 13, 14 maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll be honest. Because those are first person perspective, right? They're
first person dungeon crawlers. Yeah.
I've never been a fan of those.
I like them enough. So this year I decided to check out Lunacid, which is essentially a kind of like El Paso Elsewhere, a fresh take on the old style of game that is doing some different and unique things. And I think Lunacid is pretty cool. I am very bad at this. I am extremely bad at Lunacid.
Do you think you can be good at these games?
I think you can. I'm sure you can be. And like the thing is, like, it's an RPG, so really it should just be like, oh, if you build your character well enough, you shouldn't have a problem. I feel as if I have built my character in a way that is good, but this game is still like, no, you get like one shot at. And I'm like, but I have so much health. I have magic power. I took the vampire like class, and I have a good strength and stuff. What is happening? And it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just like, yeah, like it matters. Like I found eventually, yeah, I do fight things better, but it's more so about timing your like strong attacks with your weak attacks, but like almost just disregarding weak attacks for the most part, and just going for full strong attacks, because otherwise you do like no damage with a weak attack. And I'm like, well, why even have this? So I kind of bounced off of it because I didn't quite get what it was going for. And I think that I'm with you. I don't think I'm on the side of like first-person dungeon crawler games like this. The ones are kind of like what's it called, Etrian Odyssey, I think it is, where it's more like you have a team with you. I think those I can probably get more into, because that one feels a little more like a that one feels like a little more interesting.
Yeah, so the Persona Q games are from the Etrian people, but those are turn-based combat as well. So I don't know if the mainline Etrian Odyssey, I'm not super familiar with those.
I think it is, yes.
I liked that there because it was just first, even though it was the first-person exploration, the combat was turn-based, so it was Persona.
Yeah. So yeah, playing Lunacid, I think that game is pretty cool in some ways, but really it's, I don't know, it's not my thing. I'm sure there are plenty of people who like will play this game and love it. The characters are really cool, like the ones you meet in like the Nexus, like the town hub area. I think there's a lot of like really fun interactions you can have with those characters there. And they all have very complicated things you can do at their stalls. Some not so complicated, but some that have like, you can do alchemy stuff. I'm like, I'm not getting into this.
I'll say, I don't like the text that the font that the actual name of the game is in. It doesn't. They're
going for that really
it's too sharp. It's like for a game that is a throwback to then have this weirdly sharp font on top of it. Just seems off.
It's a little off in points. I think it's still like, hey, we are still going for like a newer game. Case in point, like the one of the things that happens when you open the game, the main menu, even though it's a fantasy dungeon crawler game, the main menu has like garbage cans and VHS tapes and stuff like that in the back alley. Like what is? I assume it's an isekai. I think. I don't know. I don't know. I never got to a point where I could really determine that. But it is also the kind of game where, like, you know, you could just full sail, keep going, don't stop for anything, kind of thing. But it's also, but because of that, I just feel like I made like no real progress in the game. You know, so yeah, Lunacid I think is really cool for somebody, not so much for me.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Well,
I guess that's been our look back at 20 years ago in gaming. Why don't you tell people where to find us?
You should go to our. Does Twitter still exist?
Unfortunately, yes. Very much, yes.
Why? Who let that keep going?
He has a lot of money. Okay, takes a long time to bleed him dry.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, go to our Twitter page, which is at EIFNAR. Go there and tell us about how much you really loved Lunacid and how wrong I am. Tell us on that Detective Pikachu should have been voiced by Danny DeVito the entire time. Yeah, I think I agree with that. That might just be me harassing him, so. But you can chime in and help.
Work at the movies. I don't know about the game.
Okay, fine. But you should also go to our Spotify, iTunes, YouTube page, which is where you're watching this, man. Go there and leave a review, like and subscribe, comment, do those things. There's buttons somewhere. down here, I think, or maybe it's moved over here in 2044. I don't know. Yeah, go somewhere and click buttons that will help us with the show and share it with your friends. Just take our show and be like, oh, here's a little cute little guy. Enjoy this little cutie, and it's like, oh, it's our podcast. It's like, oh, look, it's me. I'm gonna do a little dance for you if you watch our show. Oh, hee hee. Yeah. Anyway,
just the men.
Anyway, just go to our friends page, djdane.com. That's the guy that does our music, djdane.com. Go there, listen to his great tunes, and I don't know, maybe like as you are hunting him down to stop the end of the world, reminisce on the fact that monster hunting has ruined your life.
That's fair. It has.
And then it turns out he is also the Lord of Fire, or whatever it's Fire Lord, something from Mortal Kombat.
Fire Lord Liu Kang.
Or turns out he is Fire Lord Liu Kang. Yes.
Sick.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for our show. Tune in for our enculturated episode of Everything's Finally Just Ruined. See ya.
See ya.
Say it.